Human Envoy knew the fate of her mates and still stepped forward. The Hall of Petition was a monument to alien majesty, its basalt walls shimmering with veins of luminous resin that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the breath of the vast dominion itself. Nathan felt the sensation of centuries pressing down on him as he stood within a ring of copper glyphs inlaid upon the obsidian floor, the ancient symbols glowing faintly beneath his boots. His diplomatic attire, a tailored suit in dark blue, cut to echo the Dravari aesthetic, felt less like armor and more like a funeral shroud, suffocating and ceremonial. But Nathan's gaze never wavered from the throne at the heart of the hall. There, atop a dais of meteor glass that caught the chamber's spectral light and fractured it into 1,000 auroras, sat Empress Kyra. She was a living legend, her skin a deep burnished red, the color of molten heartstone, her features sharp and statuesque. Gold-flecked eyes watched the assembly with predatory calm, unblinking, every line of her athletic frame exuding coiled power. Her armor was not merely worn, but lived in, an organic shell, slick and seamless, that flexed with the subtle motion of her muscles as if it were an extension of her flesh. The hall's myriad courtiers and generals ringed the scene, silent save for the whisper of anticipation. A figure broke from the ranks, Commander Jar, his own armor iridescent and blue as a frozen sea. He moved with the rigid discipline of someone accustomed to command, but his expression was carved from ice. He stopped before Nathan, the air between them charged with scorn. Through the translator node, Jar's voice cut the silence. Nathan of Earth, humanity's last envoy. The Empress decrees, to earn her hand, you must survive the ordeal of ascendancy. Should you fail, she will execute you herself, as she has every other challenger. A murmur rippled through the assembled Dravari, a collective intake of breath, the flutter of disbelief. But Nathan's focus was fixed on Kira, his heart pounding not with fear, but with a resolve that even he found surprising. He stepped from the circle of glyphs, ignoring the court's incredulous whispers. His voice rang clear through the hall, unwavering. I accept your challenge. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to hold its breath. The assembly's murmurs swelled, shock, amusement, curiosity. Yet in that suspended moment, Nathan caught something in Kira's gaze, a glimmer, fleeting as starlight, curiosity, perhaps even hope, flickering beneath her mask of indifference. The floor trembled, a deep tectonic growl that sent ripples across the pools of resin light. The Hall of Petition transformed, dais and throne receding as armored panels withdrew to reveal the arena below. The air grew thick with anticipation. Nathan found himself standing at the edge of a vast pit, the ground scorched and gouged. From a shadowed archway emerged the Varkun, a colossal four-legged beast, its form bristling with battered iridescent scales that flickered from emerald to violet in the shifting light. Deep wounds marred its hide, viscous fluids seeping from old battles. Its eyes, massive and half-lidded, regarded Nathan with an intelligence that was both eerie and sorrowful. The crowd roared, hungry for spectacle. The Varkun bellowed, a sound that vibrated Nathan's bones, and charged, the ground shuddering beneath its weight. Nathan darted aside, the beast's talons gouging a trench where he had stood a breath before. He had no weapon but his wits and reflexes. He watched the creature's movements, searching for rhythm, for weakness. The Varkun charged again, but Nathan pivoted, using his smaller size and speed to slip beneath its swinging tail. The beast's momentum carried it into a basalt pillar, which cracked and sent a shower of dust into the air. Instead of attacking, Nathan called out, his voice low, gentle, coaxing. The Varkun hesitated, its great head lowering, nostrils flaring at his scent. Nathan circled, reading the animal's pain and exhaustion. He moved with calculated risk, provoking a charge, then darting aside at the last instant. The Varkun stumbled, overcommitted, and Nathan seized the moment. He threw his weight behind a broken length of pillar, sending it skittering beneath the creature's forelegs. The Varkun lost its footing, crashing to its side with a thunderous roar. He stood back, breathing hard, but made no move to harm the beast further. The silence in the arena was absolute. From above, Kira's mask of impassivity fractured, her golden eyes narrowed, sharp with a new and dangerous interest. The crowd's confusion gave way to intrigue. Whispers turned to applause, hesitant but growing. The Varkun, battered but alive, rose unsteadily and fixed Nathan with a last, lingering stare, then lumbered back into the shadows. Later, Nathan was summoned through a labyrinth of crystalline corridors, escorted by silent guards whose faces betrayed nothing. He was brought to a private chamber, walls of translucent stone framing the cosmos outside. Empress Kyra stood by the window, out of ceremonial regalia, clad only in a simple tunic that revealed the full power and grace of her form. She turned as he entered, her gaze measuring. "You did not kill the Varkun," she said, voice low and dangerous. "Why?" Nathan met her eyes, unflinching. "It wasn't necessary. I came here to survive, not to conquer, or to destroy what's already suffering." Kira's lips curved, almost a smile but edged with warning. "Mercy is not often rewarded here, Nathan of Earth." The crowd expected blood. They expected a victor. He shrugged, the exhaustion evident in his shoulders. Maybe they'll remember something different this time. For a moment, silence stretched between them, thick with possibility. Kyra's gaze searched his face, as if trying to decipher the motives of this strange, unbreakable human. The tension was palpable, something more than diplomacy, less than rivalry, a chemistry raw and unspoken. She turned away, her tone softening almost imperceptibly. "Rest well, Nathan. The ordeal has only just begun." Nathan bowed his head in acknowledgement, but as he left her chamber, he felt the weight of her attention linger. In the hush that followed, he realized his presence was already shifting the fate of the ordeal, and perhaps the destiny of them both. Nathan's victories mounted, each one more improbable than the last. His next ordeal unfurled beneath the vaulted dome of the shifting arena, a labyrinth of obsidian platforms in constant grinding motion. The air was heavy with anticipation, the crowd's voices echoing in hollow waves. His opponent was the silent stalker, a predator bred in the abyssal wilds of Dravari's moons. It moved without sound, its sleek form blending seamlessly with shadow, its fangs glistening with paralytic venom. Nathan's heart thudded as he circled the arena, his every step calculated. The stalker materialized and vanished with spectral speed, striking from impossible angles. He quickly realized brute strength would not save him. Instead, he watched, learning the creature's rhythm, how it paused just before striking, how the tremors of the moving platforms gave away its presence. He began to manipulate the arena itself. Timing his movements with the grinding of the plates, he forced the stalker into open ground, using the shifting terrain to trap and outmaneuver it. The creature lunged, but Nathan twisted, sending it tumbling into a pit that sealed behind a rotating slab. Silence fell, then a wave of astonished applause. The crowd's hunger for blood was replaced by something new, respect, even admiration, for his cunning. Later, Nathan stood before the Empress's guards, his skin still tingling with adrenaline. He was summoned again to Kira's private chambers, where the air was thick with the scent of star iron and blooming pyraflowers. This time, the rigid formalities that had once defined their encounters began to dissolve. Kira paced along the crystalline window, her bare arms crossed, the faintest glint of vulnerability in her golden eyes. She turned to face him, voice lower and sharper than before. "Nathan," she said, his name shaped by her accent, both a challenge and an invitation. "You survive by outwitting, not overpowering. Is that your plan, to charm the Dominion into submission?" He couldn't help but smile at the edge in her tone. "No, I want more than survival. I want peace that lasts. If that takes a new kind of courage, then so be it." Kira tilted her head, studying him as if weighing truth against expectation. You believe your methods could work here, in this court, among my people? His gaze didn't waver. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of understanding. Someone has to risk a new path. For a moment, her mask slipped. He saw the fatigue etched into her posture, the loneliness behind the legend. Her next words were soft, stripped of imperial distance. You see me as something more than a conqueror. Why? Because I think you are, Nathan replied quietly. Because I've seen the way you look at your own people. The ones who doubt, the ones who hope. You carry them all, whether they know it or not. The tension between them was like a force field, almost visible. Kira's hands clenched and unclenched at her sides. You unsettle me, Nathan. I do not like it. He stepped closer, drawn to her gravity. Is it so terrible to be seen? Her laugh was a brittle, vulnerable thing. You are either the bravest or the most reckless man I've ever met. Her eyes flashed, uncertainty flickering. And I am not sure which is more dangerous. He longed to reach out, to break through the living armor, to touch the soul beneath, but the moment hung on a knife's edge, too fragile for more. Kira turned away, her voice husky with something she refused to name. Go now, before I forget myself. It was not a command, but a confession. Nathan bowed his head and left, the taste of possibility lingering on his lips. He knew then he'd found a crack in her defenses, small but real. But the palace was a hive of silent threats. As he made his way through the labyrinthine corridors, he was intercepted by Commander Jar and a pair of elite guards. Their courtesy was razor-thin, every gesture laced with menace. Your quarters await, Envoy, Jar intoned, his tone silk over steel. Allow us to escort you. Nathan saw the trap in Jar's eyes. He feigned exhaustion, allowing himself to be led down a side passage thick with shadows. As the doors sealed behind them, the guards closed in, blades whispering free of their sheaths. He moved before they expected, ducking beneath a swing and ramming one guard into the wall. The other lunged, but Nathan twisted, grabbing a dropped blade and slashing through the control panel. Alarms blared. He shoved past Jar, who hissed a curse, and sprinted down the corridor, heart hammering. His only sanctuary was the Empress herself. He burst into Kira's sanctum, breathless and wild-eyed. The guards outside scrambled after him, but Kira's voice, cold as the void, halted them. Leave us, she commanded. The doors sealed, locking them in together. Nathan faced her, chest heaving. Am I your ally, Kira, or just another pawn for the court to dispose of? She regarded him with something like pain flickering in her gaze. You are neither. You are a catalyst, something this place fears. He pressed on, anger sharpening his words. Your court just tried to kill me. Is that the price of your ordeal? Sacrifice any threat to their power? Kira's composure shattered. She stepped forward, armor rippling like liquid over muscle. The ordeal was once a test of worth, a path for unity. Now it is my cage. Each challenger I defeat, each one I am forced to execute, is another link in the chain that binds me. It is the old guard's tool, a means to keep me alone, unquestioned, unchallenged. I am their empress, but also their prisoner. The confession hit Nathan like a blow. He saw the truth in her eyes, the exhaustion, the longing, the cost of every victory. He stepped closer, his voice softening. You don't have to fight this alone. Let me help you break these chains. Kira looked at him, truly looked, and for the first time, she allowed herself to hope. And if you fail? Then we fail together, he said simply. But I would rather fall at your side than win by becoming what they want. Her golden eyes searched his face, searching for weakness, for doubt. Finding none, she extended her hand, cold, strong, trembling with the enormity of the moment. Nathan took it, his warmth a silent vow. Their pact was sealed, not with blood, but with trust. It was more than a political alliance. It was the promise of partnership, of shared struggle. For the first time, both Nathan and Kira felt the walls of the Dominion tremble, not with violence, but with the possibility of freedom, together. Their alliance remained secret, but it transformed everything about the ordeal. The world saw only the spectacle, Nathan facing each new trial, Kira presiding from her throne with imperious composure. In truth, they carved out hours in the hidden chambers below the palace, beneath the prying eyes of the court, where their partnership was forged in sweat and bruises, in silence and shared glances. Officially, these sessions were preparatory training for the foreign challenger. Unofficially, they were something far riskier. Kira and Nathan meeting as equals, sparring in a cavernous room of mirror-polished stone and reactive light. Here, the Empress set aside her crown. Here, Nathan could drop the mask of perfect diplomacy. Kira attacked with the ferocity of a born warrior. Every movement was a calculated threat, her muscles moving beneath living armor that flowed and contracted with her will. She pressed forward, launching a flurry of strikes meant to overwhelm. Nathan countered with agility, unpredictability, dodging, weaving, letting her power glance off his defenses. He fought with a style she'd never seen, a loose improvisational dance, never following the same pattern twice. "Again," she demanded, breath ragged, circling him. "You're holding back." Nathan grinned, ducking beneath a spinning kick. "And you're trying to break my ribs. Let's call it even." She feinted, and he slipped aside, catching her wrist and twisting. "Human combat isn't always about force," he said, guiding her arm. "It's about flow, improvisation. Sometimes the best move is the one no one expects, even you." Kira's glare was sharp, but there was laughter in her eyes. "Show me then." He did, demonstrating a fluid sidestep, hands moving to direct her momentum away. She resisted, but he kept talking, distracting her. "If you only fight the way you were taught, someone will always know how to beat you. Adapt, Kyra." She responded with a sudden sweep, knocking his legs from under him. He hit the floor with a grunt, and she loomed above, triumphant. "Is that improvisation, Nathan?" she teased, her face inches from his. He laughed, reaching up to grip her forearm and pull her down. The motion twisted their bodies together, her armored chest pressed to his. For a moment, neither moved. Their sweat mingled on the stone. The heat of their exertion fogged the air between them. Kira's hand slid to his throat, not threatening, but measuring his pulse. "You're learning," she said softly, golden eyes burning with a hunger she refused to name. Their sessions grew more grueling. Kira corrected his stances by guiding his hands, pressing her body against his to demonstrate leverage and balance. Nathan returned the favor, showing her the subtleties of human grappling, how to use an opponent's strength against them, how to anticipate the unexpected. Sometimes their sparring blurred the boundary between combat and something else entirely. One night, after hours of relentless drills, Nathan finally gained the upper hand. He twisted behind her, locking her arms, her back pressed tight to his chest. Her breath was hot against his jaw. His hands found the smooth lines of her armored abdomen. Kira stilled, her pulse racing beneath his fingers. Their faces were inches apart, mouths close enough to touch. For one electrified moment, the world narrowed to the space between them, their mingled breaths, the wild, unspoken longing in her eyes. "Yield," Nathan whispered. Kira's lips parted. "Never." But she didn't break away. Not immediately. Only when the tension grew too dangerous did she twist free, putting distance between them with a ragged breath. The moment collapsed, desire denied for the sake of purpose. They rested against the wall, catching their breath. Kira wiped sweat from her brow, her hair damp and unbound. "You fight like someone with nothing left to lose," she said, voice low. Nathan smiled, The ache in his limbs, nothing compared to the ache inside him. Maybe I found something worth fighting for. The unspoken hung between them, fragile, precious, terrifying. But their partnership had to serve more than longing. The semi-final loomed, a duel against Jar's chosen champion, the Shadow Blade. In the chamber's blue-tinged gloom, they planned together, minds moving as one. The Shadow Blade will expect direct confrontation, Nathan said, drawing a crude map in the dust. He's arrogant. He'll want to humiliate me. Kira nodded, her tone sharp with understanding. Dravari pride demands spectacle. He'll draw out the fight, play for the crowd. That's where he's vulnerable. Nathan traced a path with his finger. If I let him think he's winning, make him overcommit, I can use his momentum against him. Like you did to me, that first night. A ghost of a smile touched Kira's lips. You remember? I remember everything, Nathan replied, his gaze steady. Kira's hand brushed his, just briefly. Then remember this, no matter what happens out there, you are not alone. Their strategy was more than tactical, it was trust, slow-burning, and absolute. Each time they met in secret, the walls between them fell a little more, until the only thing separating them was the fear of what they might become together. On the eve of the semi-final, their final session was quieter, more intimate. They didn't speak at first, letting the silence say what words could not. Nathan bandaged Kira's forearm where his hold had scraped her. She adjusted the fit of his battered training vest with surprising tenderness. Are you afraid? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. He shook his head, though fear shimmered in his eyes. Only of failing you. She touched his cheek, her hand rough and gentle all at once. You won't. For a moment, they stood in the hush, bound by purpose and longing. Nathan wanted to close the distance, to bridge the space with more than words, but instead he stepped back, determination burning in his chest. The next day, the world would see only the surface, the challenger, the empress, the trials. But in the hidden chamber, their partnership was forged, more than political, more than strategy. It was trust, danger, desire, all braided together. As Nathan prepared to face the Shadow Blade, he knew the ordeal was no longer just a test of strength or cunning. It was the crucible in which both their fates would be remade, together. The semi-final was a storm of violence unleashed beneath the domed sky of the arena. The Shadow Blade descended in a blur, twin energy sabers searing arcs of blue fire through the smoky air. The crowd roared, the air alive with fevered anticipation, but Nathan heard only the pulse of his own blood and the memory of Kira's quiet voice in the darkness, her faith, her warning. He barely dodged the first onslaught. The Shadow Blade moved with inhuman speed, blades singing, every stroke a killing intent. Nathan felt the sizzle of plasma as a saber grazed his side, slicing through fabric and flesh. Hot blood soaked his shirt, the pain sharp and immediate. The audience gasped, 1,000 Dravari voices drawn tight with bloodlust and awe. High above, on the obsidian dais, Kyra could not mask her fear. Her hands clenched the armrests of her throne, gold eyes wide and unblinking, her composure broken for all to see. The court took note, the whole dominion held its breath. Nathan staggered, vision blurring, but clung to the plan they had forged together. He let the Shadow Blade press the attack, feigning weakness, stumbling back as if the wound was worse than it was. The assassin's arrogance grew, his strikes more reckless. Sparks and blood painted the stones. Bleed for them, human, the Shadow Blade hissed, voice distorted by the helmet's vox. Prove your worth in agony. Nathan gritted his teeth, eyes darting. Timing, angles, momentum. The assassin overreached, twin sabers flashing high. Nathan ducked low, rolling beneath the whirling blades. He caught the champion's wrist and slammed his elbow into the nerve cluster above the gauntlet, just as Kira had shown him. The saber flickered out, disabled by the precise strike. The crowd's roar faltered, then swelled in disbelief. The shadow blade spun, but Nathan snatched a fallen saber, igniting its blade. They clashed, energy crackling, and Nathan fought with desperate improvisation. Spins, feints, moves no Dravari would ever expect. He forced the assassin back, let him lunge again, and then, with a deft twist, drove the hilt of the saber into the champion's ribs. With a hiss of agony, the shadow blade dropped the last weapon. Nathan disarmed him, pressing the plasma edge to his throat. The arena fell silent, the only sound Nathan's ragged breathing and the drip of his own blood. He did not kill. He stepped back, letting the champion collapse in defeat. The silence broke, first with gasps, then a rising storm of applause and shouts. The crowd had come for slaughter, but witnessed something greater, a wounded man refusing to give in, winning through resilience and wit. The legend grew. Kira stood, her fists trembling. She did not move until the crowd's eyes were elsewhere, and Nathan was led away, staggering but undefeated. That night, as shadows deepened, Nathan lay on his cot, pain radiating from his side. The room was dim, the air heavy with the copper tang of blood and the distant hum of palace machinery. He heard footsteps, measured, unmistakable. The door slid open, and Kira entered, dismissing the guards with a curt gesture. "Nathan," she whispered, her voice cracking with relief and terror. He struggled to sit up, but she was already kneeling beside him, a medkit in her strong, shaking hands. Without her armor, she seemed more formidable, her power made tender by fear. "You shouldn't be here," he said, though he couldn't keep the longing from his voice. "I had to see you," she replied, gently peeling away the blood-soaked fabric. Her touch was uncharacteristically soft, fingers trembling as she cleaned and sealed the wound. "You could have died. I watched them try to kill you." Nathan met her gaze, searching for the Empress behind the mask. "You were afraid?" Her jaw set, golden eyes glittering. "Yes, more than I have ever been." She pressed a new bandage to his side, hands lingering. "I have faced monsters, assassins, traitors. None frightened me like seeing you bleed." The words dropped the last barriers. Nathan reached for her hand, entwining his fingers with hers. "I think I'm falling for you, Kira. I never meant for this to happen, but—" She silenced him with her fingertips on his lips, her own breath unsteady. "No one calls me Kyra," she whispered. "Not since I was a child. To the world, I am Empress, warrior, judge. But with you—" He cupped her cheek, tracing the line of her jaw. "Then let me say it. Just once. Kira." The name hung between them, sacred and fragile. Kira's eyes filled with something neither of them dared name, hope and terror intertwined. She leaned in, lips brushing his in a kiss that was gentle, desperate, a promise spoken without words. His hands pulled her close, and for that stolen moment, nothing else existed. No ordeal, no court, no war, only the truth of two battered souls daring to dream. She broke the kiss, forehead pressed to his. "If there is a future, Nathan, I want it with you." He smiled, pain forgotten. "We'll make one, I promise." They stayed entwined, sharing breath and quiet until the threat of dawn loomed. Kira rose first, smoothing her tunic, the Empress returning. "Tomorrow is the final trial. The law is clear. I must attempt to kill you. If you fall, it must be by my hand." Nathan pulled her down for one last kiss. "I will not fail. You will not have to." Their pact, sealed in blood and hope, would face its last test at sunrise. The next day, the arena was changed. The crowd's mood was different. Not bloodthirsty, but hushed, reverent, uncertain. They watched as Kyra and Nathan entered the ring, not as Empress and Challenger, but as equals, and something more. The fate of the Dominion hung in the charged air. She stood before him, gold eyes fierce, voice steady. "Are you ready?" He nodded, pulse steady, conviction burning in his gaze. "Ready. For you, for us, for everything to come." The final trial awaited, one last storm to endure together, or not at all. Their duel was a spectacle unlike any the Dominion had witnessed. The arena's obsidian floor gleamed, reflecting the swirl of anticipation in the crowd above. Every face in the vast Colosseum was turned toward the ring, where Empress Kyra stood, her living blade a seamless extension of her arm, her posture the very image of a sovereign forced to fight for her own heart. She met Nathan's gaze with a look that mingled sorrow, pride, and a desperate hope neither dared voice. The signal sounded. Kira moved first, no hesitation, no mercy. She attacked with the fury of a cornered empress, her living blade singing as it sliced through the air with lethal precision. Each step was poetry in motion, whiplash quick lunges, spinning feints, the organic metal shifting and flexing with her every impulse. Nathan barely parried, the force of her strike jolting up his arms, feet skidding on the polished stone. But he found his rhythm, drawing on every lesson she had taught him, every spar, every whispered correction in the shadows. He let her power come, receiving it, redirecting. Each time her blade crashed toward him, he twisted away, using her momentum to slip around, to touch her gauntlet, to lock her wrist. The crowd was silent, breathless, as if afraid that a single sound would shatter the spell. Kira pressed him, pushing harder, rage and anguish twisting her features. "Fight me, Nathan!" she shouted, her voice echoing off the walls. "Show them your strength!" He held his ground, calm as still water. "I am," he replied softly, barely above a whisper, but she heard it. "I fight for both of us." Their blades clashed, sparks leaping between metal and light. Each exchange became a conversation, her power answered by his finesse, her fury met by his unflinching resolve. Nathan's style, all improvisation and misdirection, forced Kira to adapt, to anticipate, to open herself to the unpredictable. She found herself smiling through her exertion, even as sweat and tears stung her eyes. "You've learned well," she breathed, circling him. "From the best," he replied, his eyes never leaving hers. The crowd was transfixed. This was no ordinary duel, no contest of dominance or humiliation. It was a dance of equals, every movement speaking of trust and possibility. Each time Kira drove him back, Nathan flowed with her, refusing to break, refusing to yield. Then came the moment they had practiced in secret, the only secret that mattered. Kyra, forced by the unyielding law of her ancestors, committed to an overhead strike, her living blade arcing down in a final, devastating blow. Nathan timed it perfectly. He sidestepped, catching her wrist, twisting just so, and the blade flew from her hand, clattering across the arena floor with a cry of parting metal. Kira dropped to her knees, breath ragged, her head bowed. Nathan stood over her, holding the living blade at her throat, the world poised on the edge of violence. The silence was absolute. Kira looked up, golden eyes shining. "It must end, Nathan. Do what you must." But instead of claiming victory, Nathan deactivated the weapon. He let it fall to the ground, the light fading from its edge. He reached out, not with a warrior's command, but with a lover's hope. "Stand with me, Kira, not as victor and vanquished, but as equals, as partners." A ripple moved through the crowd, confusion and awe battling with the old hunger for blood. Kira's hand trembled as she reached for him. When she grasped his, the moment broke the Dominion's ancient cycle. Nathan pulled her to her feet, their fingers entwined, stained with sweat and the memory of struggle. They faced the assembly, empress and challenger, sovereign and insurgent, lovers and symbols of a new age. The crowd erupted, not in violence, but in the thundering sound of a world transformed. Applause, cheers, weeping, the roar of hope given voice. High above, Commander Jar stood frozen, his power shattered by a single act of mercy. His face twisted with fury, hands curled into fists, but he was powerless to move against the will of the people. Tradition had been broken not by force, but by choice. Nathan and Kira stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by the echoes of their courage. Their duel had ended the ordeal, not with death, but with the promise of something better. The Dominion would remember this day as the moment the cycle ended and the future began. In the calm after the storm, the palace seemed suspended in a hush, as if even its ancient stones dared not disturb the fragile peace that had settled. Nathan crossed the threshold into Kira's private sanctuary, a space untouched by ceremony or courtly eyes. The air was warm with soft light, and the scent of rare flowers from distant worlds. On a low table at the room's center, the treaty, a parchment lined with promises, centuries in the making, lay forgotten, as inconsequential as a discarded weapon. Kira stood by the window, unarmored, the last rays of an alien sunset gilding her skin until she glowed. Without her living armor, she was at once more formidable and more vulnerable, her true self revealed, stripped of the Empress's steel. She watched him with a quiet smile, her golden eyes reflecting the future and the shadows of all they had overcome. Nathan closed the distance between them, his heart steady for the first time since he had set foot in the Dominion. He looked at the treaty, then at her, and shook his head gently. "It's strange, isn't it? All those words, all those signatures, and none of it means as much as what we just did out there." Kira turned to face him fully, her gaze softening. "Treaties are easy, Nathan. This, what we have forged, took everything." She stepped closer, her presence filling the room like sunlight after a long storm. "You risked your life. For them. For me." He reached for her hands, finding them bare, strong, and warm, no longer hidden behind gauntlets of living metal. "The old ways are finished, Kira. Your ordeal is over. What we do next, what we build together, will be new, better." She studied him, searching for any flicker of doubt, but found only conviction. The exhaustion that had haunted her was gone, replaced by a radiant certainty. She lifted his hands to her lips, pressing a kiss to his knuckles. "Partner," she murmured, the word reverent. "Not just an ally, or a consort, or a symbol. My partner." Nathan smiled, drawing her closer until the space between them vanished. He rested his forehead against hers, letting the silence speak of everything they had endured. "I want to stand with you, Kira, not just in the arena, but in all things. No more secrets, no more chains." She closed her eyes, breathing him in. "And I want to rule with you. I want the Dominion to see what I see, a future built on trust, not fear." She drew back just enough to see his face, her thumb tracing the line of his jaw. "Do you believe it's possible?" His answer was a promise, whispered as much to himself as to her. "I believe in us. If we could survive the ordeal, we can survive anything." Their embrace was full of promise and certainty. Nathan felt her strength in the way she held him, but also her willingness to let him share the burden. Kira's arms wrapped around his shoulders, and she laughed, a soft, unguarded sound, free from the weight of duty. "There will be resistance," she said, her lips brushing his ear. "Jar will not yield quietly, nor will the old guard." Nathan tilted her chin so she would meet his gaze. "Let them come. We'll face them together. The people saw what we did. They saw the choice we made." She nodded, her eyes shining with fierce pride. "You gave them hope, Nathan. You gave me hope." He kissed her then, and this time there was nothing desperate in it. No fear, no finality. Only the certainty of two souls who had found each other in the storm and refused to let go. Their kiss was a vow, silent and unbreakable, that their reign would be one of partnership, not domination, of hope, not fear. When they finally parted, Kira cupped his face, her fingers gentle. The treaty can wait. We have something more powerful now. A dominion built not by conquest, but by choice. Nathan glanced at the treaty, still lying untouched. Let it gather dust. We'll write a new one, with our lives, with our actions. Kira's smile was dazzling, full of the promise of 1,000 tomorrows. Then let us begin, Nathan of Earth, my partner, my equal. He took her hands again, their fingers entwining naturally, as if they had always been meant to fit together. The past fell away, old scars, old laws, old fears, leaving only the present and the vast, unwritten future stretching before them. Together, they stood in the quiet, neither empress nor envoy, but something braver, something more enduring. Their alliance, born in peril, sealed in love, was the foundation of a new dominion. They had survived the ordeal, and now, together, they would rule. That's the end of the story. You can leave us a tip, or become a channel member. This greatly helps our team improve the quality of our videos. You can send a tip using the Super Thanks button right below the video. We truly appreciate each and every one of you who has subscribed and supported us. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and write in the comments what you liked most about this story. Our team will be very grateful to you. You can find even more fascinating stories on our channel. See you in the next video.